Hey, this is the World Advice Channel 2. For this video, what I'll be discussing is what would happen if the war on drugs never happened. So for this video, I will cover the war on drugs from a perspective of Black people when it comes to how Black people would be doing if the war on drugs never happened. So now I mentioned that, let's get started. So when it comes to the question of what would have happened if the war on drugs never happened in the first place, when it comes to the Black community, the simple answer to that question is we would be doing a lot better than we are doing now. Now, the reason why I say that is because the war on drugs, all it did is not only destabilize the Black community when it comes to the amount of progress we were seeing, it also just made us look bad in the eyes of the general white public, for that matter. Okay, that is what the war on drugs did, for that matter. Okay, and the truth of the matter, more specifically and most importantly of all, when it comes to war on drugs, for that matter, okay, is that all it really did when it comes to the war on drugs is it just simply, for that matter, okay, um, war on drugs, for that matter, to put it bluntly, in all honesty, is that it just destabilized the progress Black people were making. Because when you look at Black people in the 1970s, we were actually making a lot of progress. Because not only did, of course, segregation ended, which of course was an economic disaster and was very biased and racist and all sorts of things. With the end of segregation, it also created a situation after, of course, no surprise, segregation ended, where for the first time, Black people could not only get decent jobs that actually didn't suck, they could also get any type of job that they wanted, for that matter. And they didn't just have to simply rely on if they wanted to go higher in life being a musician or an athlete. Okay, for that matter. Okay, for the first time, the everyday Black person who's not very physically fit or is not very interested in actually doing music could actually do music, or I should say, pick job, whatever they wanted to pick for the first time, which actually helped Black people see success for the first time. Okay, and actually have a middle class, for that matter. Okay, but the truth of the matter is, when it comes to, of course, as we all know, no surprise, because of the war on drugs, it destabilized the Black community. Okay, because all it really did when the war on drugs happened, is it created a lot of problems. Not only did it cause a lot of murders, which of course was less, so many murders, it of course affects the whole community because not only do you have less people to, of course, no surprise, be able to do certain things, like have jobs and of course people who can help build things up and make things better. It also, of course, destroyed the communities because no one would want to go there, you know, which will come as no surprise to anyone. If no one wants to go there, then you're not going to have as much people who are going to be able to make money and stuff, for that matter, okay? Um, because of course, no surprise, no one wants to go to an area where they're going to get shot. And it's not even about white people; it's about even Black people who are not from those hoods or even in the hood, for that matter. Okay, they're not going to want to go to those places and buy things. So of course, economically, it's going to have a massive effect on a community. Not to mention, of course, the amount of people who are being incarcerated. The truth of the matter is, the war on drugs absolutely destabilized the Black community. It made us a lot poorer because, for different reasons, but one of the biggest reasons it made us poor is because it destroyed communities that were building up and could have made a lot more money. Because who the hell is going to really want to go in a neighborhood that's full of bear shootings? And it also, of course, created stereotypes that made it harder for us to find employment when we were getting employment from people who are, of course, well, no surprise, were not Black, particularly, of course, whites. It destabilized our community and destroyed our community. And even though I know our community would have had problems because a lot of our people have some really backwards ways of thinking, you know, it's not saying Black people are any less than other group of people. I'm certain we are not. But we have some backwards ass ways of thinking, whether it could be showing up late to things all the time, you know, overcharging for things. I'm not gonna deny our community has some backwards belief system practices, I should say, not belief system, but practices. But even still, when you look at it in the end of the day, the truth of the matter is, um, regardless of those points, we still would have been doing better, for that matter, okay? And we would have definitely maybe not be on the same level as white people, but economically on average, we would have been doing better if the war on drugs never happened. Because the war on drugs, it just destroyed us and it just created a lot of problems with people finding employment. It created a lot of problems when it came to, of course, no surprise, building up the community, as I was saying before. It created a lot of problems, and that's true about about the war on drugs. It destroyed a community, and it created a situation where the police were always around, and made it possible for the police to just randomly stop us and harass us and beat the living crap out of us without, of course, it being directly viewed as, of course, no surprise, racist. When in the past it was clear as day. When a police would just stop you in the past, and especially if in the past, okay, it was kind of obvious. Yeah, they're probably doing it because you're racist or because they're racist or something. If for the first time in it possible that they can justify by saying, "Oh, we think he might be a suspected gang member or something." You see what I'm saying? So that's the truth of the matter when it comes to that particular issue. That idea that some way, somehow, black people you know, are criminals is a good way to kind of course, not only exclude us from society, but of course, most importantly of all, it prevents us from being able to make more money, which of course you need money for in order for a society or a group of people to succeed. So that's the truth of the matter for that matter, okay? That's the truth of the matter. And not to mention, the war on aside from that, to be honest with you, the obvious question that comes up is how would we be doing if it never happened? Well, to answer your question, even though that was kind of what I was getting at before, but to explain it in further detail, the simple answer to that question was we'd be doing a lot better. First and foremost, we would be more mainstream accepted in society. Gangster rap, no surprise as well, wouldn't have taken off as much as it did. Rap would have still existed, but gangster rap wouldn't have taken off like it did for obvious reasons because it wouldn't be relatable to everyday people's situations and struggles. It would have never taken off. And as a result of it not taking off, our neighborhoods would not be as violent. So more people would come into black communities in America and stuff. And of course, it build up naturally over time and become better and better and better. We make more money and so on and so forth. And even some of our backwards practices, like I was getting at before, it would have still been around, I'm certain, among some people, but I don't believe it would have been as bad because more people would naturally have become more educated and all that type of stuff to those situations. So the truth of the matter, it wouldn't have been as bad. It would still be kind of there, but it wouldn't have been as bad. And we would probably, for that matter, live in a much less racist society. Because the thing about um, racism, in general, for that matter, is that racism was kind of dying off in America. Everything from, of course, the fact that black musicians were actually, becoming successful and not just successful, but unlike in times in the past, you could actually see their faces. So you could realize, oh my God, it's a black person who made a song I really liked, for that matter. It also, created a situation where white people, of course, we know how a lot of them are like, especially back then, where if we actually were developing, it'd be like, okay, we can't say anything bad about this person. So you know what would have happened? They wouldn't be as racist because what would the point of being racist be? Because then people see you for who you really are. You just hate black people just simply because, of course, of the stereotypes about them. And of course, the biggest one, of course, their ancestors were slaves. That's it. So, and of course, just hating someone just because their ancestor was a slave and because they have a different appearance and so on and so forth, is of course simply silly. That would make those people who actually have those ways of thinking social outcasts from their society, white society, okay, for that matter. But when you have a group of people who are acting a certain way and behaving a certain way, in all honesty, even if it's a small portion, especially around white people, you know, for that matter, okay, not saying all white people are like that, or even the majority, but a lot of them are, for that matter, even if it's a small portion of people act a certain way, it doesn't take much for them to all think you all are that way. And that's what the war on drugs did. It just takes a small percentage of people who want to be gangsters or become gangsters and stuff to take down a whole community. So that's the truth of the matter, for that matter. So in short, we would be doing a lot better. We would have become way more mainstream by 2025, the year we are in right now. We would have had a way less racism than we have now. And as a truth of the matter, we would be doing a lot better than we are doing now. and possibly even a racism of the South and Jim Crow and stuff would have been a fading memory. As the truth of the matter is, people remember things more when things are going bad, when it comes to negative history, than when things are going good. When things are going good, people tend to overlook and move on from negative history. Whether it could be white people or black people as well, people tend to move on and forget about those things. And that's what I truly believe would have happened if the war on drugs never happened, as that's the main thing that has destroyed the black community. So anyway, this is my video. This is all I have to say. All I have to say is that I hope you found this video not only informative but interesting. And just remember, if you like this video and videos like this, remember to thumb this video up and hit the subscribe button. And this is all I have to say. And it's going to put them out. So bye.